Are there any other questions?
This is Nina Ullman from Improve. To what extent is grants management part of this proposal, beyond just the financial reporting, but just the overall understanding the objectives of the grant and ensuring compliance with the spirit of the grant?
Christine or Mark, do you guys want to respond to that one?
Well, I was just going to respond that, of course, you would need to know whether or not any expenditure is allowable, so you would have to have some understanding of how the grants work. But, of course, your approval would be based on verifying information with USDOE, the program offices, of course. But I was going to defer to Mark since he's had experience with that process. But he's agreeing that that is the process. And this is Lisa Harris from the General Counsel's Office at U.S. Department of Ed. I guess the other distinction to make is to be very clear that GDOE retains the responsibility for actually running the programs funded by. So in terms of, if you're talking grants management in terms of program management, operating the programs, making decisions about what kinds of activities and projects are provided, that is within, that remains within the management purview of GDOE. But certainly, as Christine was saying, understanding the purpose of the program, understanding the allowable activities under the program and under the under EDSER, the Education Department General Administrative Regs, and the cost principles, all of that tying together is part of the funds management that the third-party fiduciary will be required to carry out.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Is there anyone else with any questions?
Let's get the Guam.
Okay, I'm going to turn the floor over now to the Guam vendors here in the room. So if you have any questions.
Yeah, this is Dave Berger from Berger & Comer. I had a few questions. Some have been answered. My first question was, can we work in our own offices, or are we expected to work in the DOE office? And I think the answer was, it depends on how many people are involved in the team.
And we'll submit further clarification with regard to that, too.
Another question I had is the third-party fiduciary expected to hire any DOE employees?
No.
Okay. Can we work at whatever time we choose? Are we restricted by working hours of DOE, is my question.
Well, to the extent that you would have to access the system, and if we have to provide support, employees, and there would have to be a restriction, because that would mean that we would have to pay extra. If you choose to work up to midnight, and we have DOE employees who are actually then we're going to have to incur the cost for those employees. So it has to be reasonable.
Yeah, I just wanted everyone to know that there are holidays that are observed in Guam and weekends, so to take that into consideration.
I would expect that there should be at least part of the day when the third party is able to work with DOE directly. I mean, because obviously we're this is our information and we need to have access.
Okay, here's an important question. Can you tell us how and when we will be paid for our services?
Well, this is coming through the stimulus funds, and so basically it's federally funded, and so it's the management of those federal funds are going to be turned over to the third party, and that would be dependent. I think we haven't quite worked this out with USDOE. Mark or Christine?
Yeah, I think that I'm not certain of this, but there should be a cost schedule or a payment schedule or some sort of information provided in the RFP in one of the appendix sections which specifies the payment cycle by whether it's monthly or quarterly, and of course you'd have to work that out as part of your negotiations in terms of the timing for that. So I'm not sure if that's something that is I believe there's either something that states that in the RFP, but I mean that's certainly something that you work out as part of the negotiation process.
Mutually agreeable.
Right. Yeah. It's negotiation.
That's part of the
process.
contract.
Right. Yeah. 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 Thanks. I love it. So.
Maybe a couple more, Jim. Another question is, can you tell us how many people are on the evaluating committee and where they are from?
We can get back to them on that.
We-
We will get back to you on that.
And I do want to clarify that there's a lot of things in this RFP about question cost and findings and a 2-year period of being clean. I just want to make sure that, I can envision an audit report coming out with a bunch of findings. But as long as they don't relate to the specific grants that we would be responsible for, we don't want to get dinged for that. Is that
That's a fair
fairly
statement.
clear? Okay. There's something in the RFP that says the public auditor and US DOE are going to determine a satisfactory risk assessment score. And I was wondering what criteria that was going to be used.
That's on page 18 for those who are
What page is that again?
page 18, letter B.
Talking about internal controls, and the public auditor and US DOE are going to evaluate them, and they have to give it a satisfactory risk assessment score. So I just kind of like to know what criteria they're going to use to determine the score.
That was an item that I have been talking to the public auditor about, and she deferred to the external auditor, and still trying to get that answer. But we'll try to get you something in writing within the time allotted.
Thank you. That's all my questions.
Jim Witt from the Accounting from Emergency. In respects to section 1.2, functions A through K, my question is a clarification, please. Is the third-party fiduciary expected to provide its own personnel to perform such services, or is it to manage and supervise existing Guam DOE personnel who perform these functions?
Yes or no?
The thing is that I was hoping that somehow we would welcome personnel into this. And maybe that just be part of the problem. We have to reserve that will come. Okay. There. Okay. We'd like to confer with the US DOE on a specific answer and come back to you.
Yeah, this is Mark Robbins. I think if you look at this section, it's entitled page 17, right? It starts project functional scope. So in essence, these are tasks that are expected of the fiduciary. In fact, it says before those items, the scope of the oversight services includes but is not limited to the following functionalities. So these are functions that the fiduciary is expected to perform as part of their fiduciary responsibilities.
Mark?
Thank you. With the fiduciary staff and in coordination to the extent possible with DDOE staff. However, the fiduciary is ultimately responsible for performing these functions in their role as the fiduciary. But their